Okay, everybody, I know this is a bit weird, but do not let Adam listen to this episode of the podcast. I'm recording a surreptitious podcast. He's unavailable. I don't want him to know that I've hijacked this podcast and invited JayBratt on. This is a JayBratt takeover. JayBratt, how are you doing tonight? Hold on one second. Play PSVR2, episode 114. Play PSVR2, the podcast. That's right. We're hitting this thing. We're going right in. I got my boy JayBratt here. Adam's gone. Forget about him. Who cares? JayBratt's here. How are you doing, JayBratt?
God, it feels good to be back, man. It's been so long. This is my old home. This is where I started. This is where my whole life changed. I'm back.
Yeah. For those of you wondering where this wonderful microphone that I'm not going to describe what it is because I don't want to get demonetized came from, it came from JayBratt. So thank you, JayBratt, for taking my audio to the next level so I can get all up in it and everybody can hear me just fine. JayBratt, why don't you plug yourself a bit on the top, because people always turn the podcast off at the end before people get to plug. So go ahead and hit us up, man. I know you got a YouTube channel. I feel like you might have like 1 or 2 followers. You're doing real good. YouTube channel. What is it?
It's JayBratt. I just hit 3 followers actually on YouTube, so doing good. You know, getting the lifestyle that I've always looked for through YouTube. I'm also everywhere else, but I'm not as good at those. Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, all those things, but I hate them all. I just want to be on YouTube. YouTube's what I like. It's where my home is, hanging out here with PlayPSVR2.
Oh, look at him. Look at him. Yeah. So thank you for filling in the huge, tiny shoes that Adam left behind when he's doing whatever he's doing, gallivanting. Yeah, JayBratt, YouTube, JayBratt. He's also host of the Full Dive Gaming Podcast, but also co-host of Play PSVR2, the podcast, episode 114. Make sure you put that on your resume, JayBratt. It's going to take you places, man. It's going to get you going somewhere. Listeners, what we're going to do today is JayBratt knows a lot about VR. And so Adam doesn't know a lot about VR, and I need to talk to somebody who knows a lot about VR. So what we're going to do is kind of go a quick little recap of the PSVR2 launch lineup, or just launch in general, see what JayBratt thinks about it, because he's not an exclusive PSVR2 gamer. And then we'll get into some technical discussion about the PSVR2. I got questions for him. I got a lot of questions for JayBratt on how this stuff works, because I don't even know. And then we're going to hit up some news, and that will round out segment 1. And segment 2, we're going to be coming at you with some reviews. So if you like the reviews, stay tuned for that in segment 2. But you know how it goes, JayBratt. Before we do anything, we got to talk about Gamer Juice. What is your Gamer Juice tonight, my friend?
Well, thinking about you guys, I couldn't just get a cock and bull. I had to have 2 so I could say that I had cock and bulls to drink on tonight. I got to get, this jokes aside though, I got to get a little personal, a little emotional here. I chose ginger beer, which is what cock and bull is tonight, because 4 years ago, on the first time I was ever on any podcast, Play PSVR the podcast, my Gamer Juice was ginger beer, and I had to bring it back because everything's come full circle. Here we are, baby.
There we go. You can, I'm trying to think of some cock and bull. You can't take the cock out of the bull, but you take the bull. I don't know how to do that. Anyways, JayBratt's here drinking his ginger beer. I don't know what mine was. I apologize when you first came on. I should have listened and thought of that. You're more sentimental than me. That's why you make such a great co-host. I have a pink Monster Energy drink.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, it says it's Ultra Strawberry Dreams. And I feel like Dreams is kind of relevant for Before Your Eyes, which we'll be reviewing later. So there's some relevance here. It's not going to taste good. These never taste good. These taste like liquid candy.
I think you forgot a word. I think it's Ultra Strawberry Wet Dreams is the name of it.
Yeah, I was covering that up with my thumb. And that makes sense. It tastes like a wet dream. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Yeah. Oh. Not great. I feel the heart attack coming right away. But let's go ahead. Let's get into this, JayBratt. So you got a PSVR2, right?
Oh, dude, I got it right here.
He's showing us stuff. He's showing us his PSVR. Look, I see the cord. It must be connected to the ceiling or something, because you're not one of these scrubs that walks around in their cord. You're one of these guys that gets a full setup. He's got, what is that, special grips on the controller?
I got special aftermarket grips on my controller.
He's ready to play Beat Saber. It's not even out yet. He's ready to play that all day long with the PSVR2. Yeah, what are you? I mean, I got some questions here for you, but just in general, how are you feeling about PSVR2 at this moment? It's been out for about a month. What are your thoughts about it, just briefly, at this moment?
I'm feeling good about PSVR2. I feel like the problem is everybody's comparing PSVR2 to Quest and all these other headsets, but like PSVR2 launch versus PSVR1 launch we're in a whole new world right now. Things are way better than they were before. We got a way more powerful headset, and all these people talking crap about the price. We'll get into all that, but I think they're not putting it into perspective. People aren't stepping back and looking at the big picture here. The problem is we need more PS5s. That's the problem. There's nothing wrong with the PSVR2, the price, all that. We just need more people that have PS5s, because once they do, then there will be people that can use this.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, PS5 numbers are finally coming up, right? You can see them in stores finally. People can buy them. But then it's going to be like a year knock-on effect where it's like you got to buy the PS5, then wait a year, kind of get tired of like the flat gaming, you know, make the PS5 feel like a PS4 again with when you're used to the graphics and stuff. Then you want that next level, that extra oomph. And you and I, we had PS5 at launch, so we're ready for that extra oomph. But we got all these new people. It's going to take them some time. Nobody wants to buy the PS5 and the PSVR2 at the same time. So hopefully the momentum keeps going. We'll discuss what we think about that momentum. But right out of the gate, then, you mentioned the launch lineup. What I mean, think about the PSVR1. We had the heaviest hitters we had were like Batman and Rez and Thumper. And I feel like I'm probably forgetting one, but like those were the three big boys. Oh, Rush of Blood, right?
And what was that one? It was way ahead of its time, though. You were robot mechs and you were like playing basketball sort of together.
Riggs, yeah.
Riggs.
That
was a game that would have been great if enough people owned the headsets to actually fill some lobbies.
Yeah, that one, and that's Gorilla, right? Like they had the launch game for PSVR 2 with Horizon Call of the Mountain, and that's a game. It looked so dang good. Maybe I'm just got nostalgia goggles. It looked so good that probably you could have just done a straight launch on PSVR 2 and been like, yeah, this looks like the next generation. This is VR. Did you play that game much? Were you able to play it when it was active?
Yeah, I played it right in the beginning, and it was good. Like, it was a great game. There just wasn't enough people that owned it till there wasn't enough PSVRs out in the wild yet. It was way too early. But if it launched now, I think it would actually do pretty well.
Yeah, because people are used to it, right? I think a lot of people were worried about getting sick. Now people know what to watch out for when you get sick, and they know that you can play an active game like that. I played it for a couple of hours, like single player against bots, and it was really thrilling. And I can only imagine, like, it could be like the VR Rocket League type thing happening. So
exactly, I was thinking that right as you said it. I was like, it was kind of like a version of Rocket League back then. So
yeah, would have been so good. But that's kind of what we had for PSVR 1, PSVR 2. I mean, the reviews were all about Horizon Call of the Mountain, and then like a handful of games like Star Wars. And stuff like that. And they totally ignored the fact that like Gran Turismo 7 was available and Resident Evil 8 was available. So ignoring the reviews, the launch lineup was pretty impressive, right? So like what are your highlights of the launch lineup? Overall, how do you feel about the launch lineup?
The launch lineup was a little tough for me as someone who's been doing VR for years. And I still have a PSVR 1. I still played it, but it wasn't like that was my whole world. And then I moved up to 2. I had a Quest, I had a PC headset. So like there was 37 games that came out at PSVR 2 launch, and like 30 of them had been out on Quest. I'd played all, like practically the whole lineup that had come out. But the games that won me over still, Gran Turismo 7, my gosh, I did not think that game would be so amazing. I would want to play it so much, but I dusted off my old steering wheel setup, and that has been the highlight of PSVR 2 for me, actually. Resident Evil 8 is, even though you can tell it's not made from the ground up for VR, great experience, looks really good, really cool. And it was kind of those two games in Horizon were like the three that everyone was looking to, because they're like, oh, well, these are the new games. These are the exclusives. What do we have? Horizon kind of fell on its face a little for me. It was beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. I loved letting people look around in it to show them VR, but it was kind of tedious. There was too much climbing. There just wasn't enough to the game itself that I was like, this really isn't it. But what kills me about the PSVR 2 launch lineup, there was no PSVR worlds. There was not that one experience that was just, when your friend comes over, what are you going to show them? This experience is going to show them everything VR has to offer at once. There just wasn't that. So like when I have a friend over, I don't want to put them in all these really intense, heavy experiences right off the bat. I want something that's like going to show them how the haptics work and show them how the headset vibrates and show them what this thing can do in little bite-sized amounts. But instead, it's like, no, I'm going to be putting them into freaking huge full-on games just to show off the headset. And that kind of messed up the launch for me.
So you say that, but I get the feeling that they thought Horizon Call of the Mountain was going to be that game, right? You start off in a boat, you're just sitting there, and you're immediately getting hit with the haptics in the heads and the beautiful graphics, and it's not really nausea inducing because you're kind of locked into this boat ride, and you get to like that. To me, it feels, and maybe that's why like the back half of the game feels so uninteresting, or I don't want to say
Mhm.
underdeveloped. Obviously, the game is like it's a really technically great game, but it's like they ran out of ideas somewhat, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, now we're just gonna have you do the stuff you've done in the first half of the game, but climb a lot more. It's like, okay, I've seen this already. I feel like they front loaded that with like, hey, gee whiz, for the first hour, this is what PSVR2 can do. Um, Granted, I haven't finished the game, so I could be talking out of my ass right now. Well, I totally am. But um, yeah, I feel like that's what they were hoping for, but maybe it's a bit too ambitious. Also, the game's not super long, doesn't have tons of replayability, and it's also like the most expensive game on the
Yeah.
PSVR2 library, which to me, like that was a knock for PSVR Worlds. I never played PSVR Worlds until it dropped down to like $10 or $20.
Hmm.
Um, However, you do have Thumper, you do
Hmm.
have Res, you do have Fantavision 2020X or whatever it's called. I haven't touched that, but so I feel like there's a lot of stuff there. But you're right. There's no like quick demo of, hey, do you want to sit with a shark or do you want to like be a gangster? Like it is nice to have those 1 hour spiels. So maybe like a good demo disc, or I don't know, some free experience. I guess they had some demos launched. Maybe
A
that could have
few,
got
but
you
there
there.
just wasn't anything that like showed you all of it at once.
Hmm.
London Heist took you in. It had you smoking a cigar using the freaking microphone on the headset. How has there been hardly any games since PSVR 1 and that use that mechanic when every headset has a microphone? Like that was mind blowing. It's like, wait, how does it know if I'm breathing or not? How does it know I'm doing this? And here we have the PSVR 2 with the eye tracking and the haptics and the adapters, all these cool things that you could make an experience just around all these little things that would blow people's minds in 15, 20 minutes. And we just don't have that. If I want to show some of the triggers, I'm putting on Pistol Whip. If I want to show them the headset haptics, I'm putting them in Horizon. If I want to show them the eye tracking, I'm putting them, all these different things. It's like I have to put them in everything. I just want to show them everything at once, blow their mind, and then let them play some games.
Yeah, yeah. You know what would have really done that? An Astrobot 2, which we all
Oh
thought
my
was going to be happening, and
gosh.
they didn't. Or an Astro's Playroom 2,
Mm-hmm.
just something with Astro. It's really maybe they're hoping they can launch something around Christmas and just get momentum for that, as kids are asking for the PlayStation VR2 now. But that's really a missed opportunity there, big time. But that being said, you kind of went over your favorite games here. So Gran Turismo
Mm-hmm.
7. Hey, if I just had Gran Turismo 7, I'd be happy with the PSVR 2. Resident
Yeah.
Evil 8, I've played a little bit. It's exactly what I thought it was going to be, which is awesome. But I just got other games I got to review first. One thing I do wonder is, because you said you've played a lot of these Quest games, just thinking of games like, Tentacular, thinking of Song in the Smoke. I'm sure there's a bunch of Star Wars, a bunch of these
Mm-hmm.
games that came out on Quest or PC and are now on PSVR 2. What's the jump been like from like a Quest version to a PSVR 2 version? Does it seem like it's an appreciable jump? Because I've not played these on the other systems, even
Mm-hmm.
though I could have. Any perspective on that?
It depends on the game. Ultimately, some games are way more optimized and better. But the problem is, and I'm going to be bringing this up a lot. I know this is a PSVR podcast. Like I know it's the elephant in the room we don't want to talk about. Some games are just better wireless. Doesn't matter how much the graphics falter. And when I need to be able to spin really fast, when I need to be able to drop to the ground and move around, I'm thinking of Pistol Whip right now. Some games are just better without a cable. And I have the best cable management I can do to keep the cables off me, to get them away from me. Some games are better for that. But other games, I mean, even like a game like Demio, gosh, Demio is so nice on the PSVR because you forget how heavy the Quest can be.
Yeah.
Like to be able to turn and look down at a game board, I just only want to play it on the PSVR now. So it really varies from game to game. Of course, the graphics on PSVR in any game are going to probably be a little bit better, but like a game like Pistol Whip, it doesn't need great graphics. It looks really good on the Quest. It looks really good on the PSVR. Every game's different, but ultimately, I mean, from PC headsets to this, like there's nothing that quite looks as good as Horizon on any headset, I don't think, as it looks as good on PSVR 2. So that's a big point for PSVR 2.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess, I mean, that's one thing that's undeniable, right? The graphical
Mm-hmm.
showpiece of Horizon Call of the Mountain. That's undeniable. I mean, I remember when I first saw Aloy there, I was just staring at her like, okay, I'm going to stare at this and see where I can find the graphical imperfections where they're
Mm-hmm.
compromising, because this isn't a flat PS5 game. And I'll be damned, I couldn't really find anything. I mean, maybe the hair model looked a bit less lush than it would have on the PS5 for the original game. But man, it's maybe it's foveated rendering, maybe it's just
Oh my god, the
yeah.
foveated rendering is so good and so pronounced that when I'm watching someone else play the game on my TV, I can tell where they're looking by the
Hmm.
clear part on the TV screen, and yet they can't tell it's happening. That is impressive that they pulled that off.
Yeah, that's why I never look in any erotic directions when somebody's watching on the social screen. I don't want anybody to know exactly where I'm looking on particular characters or in particular scenes. No, I noticed that too because that's the thing, right? If the eye tracking works well, you don't know what's happening at all. So
Hmm.
I thought for a while when I was configuring my eye tracking, it seemed like sometimes it wasn't quite catching my eyes for whatever reason. Um, and then I put my dad into Gran Turismo 7 and watching the social screen, and like his speedometer was unreadable. If he was looking at the road, he couldn't see how fast he was going. The map that's there, that was, illegible. You can't see what's happening. And then I said, "Hey, can you look at your map real quick?" And I'd watch it sharpen up. And it's like, wow. So I've never seen that when I'm playing the game, but it's obviously happening. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
super impressive how that rolls out. We mentioned Oculus and PC. You said the wire is a big thing.
Hmm.
What about the controllers? How are those comparing to what you see on the Quest? More robust, less comfortable? Any thoughts on that?
The haptics are way better. Obviously, their new haptics feel good. They're stronger. The controllers themselves are a little less comfortable than other controllers on the market. I was surprised that like when I first tried these, I loved that these grip buttons, when you clicked it, you just felt it click and you knew it was clicked. And when you let go, you knew it was undone. But I started to learn quickly in games, you never thought about the fact that on the Quest and stuff, the grip button was such a light pull that it didn't fatigue you to hold it. And then I go play a game like After the Fall on PSVR2, and I'm dropping my guns because after 10 minutes of holding two pistols, my middle finger gets tired and I start to falter and I drop my guns. So little things like that have kind of brought down the experience a bit. The battery life isn't incredible, but it's good enough for my use and for how I play. But I have decent sized hands, but they're not humongous. I've seen other people with big hands really struggle. You can get them in the controller just fine. That's no problem. But like when you try to reach your thumb back to press something, some people's thumb joints are hitting that back bar and it's making it
Oh,
hard to get their thumb around. So things like where the tracking rings are located, the fact that you don't have any index style straps where you can let go of the controller without it falling kind of down your hand, little things like that kind of make the controllers feel like they're still maybe a little behind the market, but the haptics and the triggers fully make up for it. The triggers in a game like Pavlov, where you're going from gun to gun to gun, and it's making every gun actually feel different.
yeah.
That's huge. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, your fatigue on the grip, that's well noted. I mean, the first thing I did when I got into Pavlov and did the tutorial was like, okay, I know I'm not going to be holding that button down the whole time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why people opt for that. Like, it's not like a realism thing because if you're really holding a gun or something, like the weight is taking care of you holding it, not
Mm-hmm.
you pressing the trigger. So, does After the Fall not have the option to do like a toggle grip or something?
I don't know if it did at the time. I was so used to playing it on Quest. I played a lot of Quest. I was so used
Okay,
to
yeah.
holding those grip buttons, and I just never noticed it. All of a sudden, after the fall, I just noticed I kept dropping my guns because it was so hard to hold those in. But that's where I would, if any game has that option, I would be switching to the grip toggle, which is less immersive because like I don't want to press the grip to grab and then press the grip to let go. I just want to hold the gun and have it be there, let go of the gun and have it fall.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that seems kind of underutilized is I don't know if the grip button has it, but it seems like all the other buttons have just the touch detection.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it's a bit immersion breaking when I see my fingers constantly popping off and on the trigger or something when I'm
Yep,
playing
yep.
Pavlov. It's cool that it can do it. I'd like to see a game that utilizes it, but as you said, the way you hold the controller, it's like, yeah, you don't have like a knuckle holster, right? So you got to be
Mm-hmm.
constantly at least touching it, which causes that kind of like flicking to happen. I did see on Reddit somebody had an interesting way of using the hand straps to give you that
I
knuckle
tried
strap.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, not
Yeah,
quite the same.
I had messed around with it actually on my own trying to figure out if there was a way, and I found a way. And it's janky. The problem is it's just uncomfortable. Maybe if I put some like Velcro strips over it, made it a little thicker, but it's those two thin cables just jutting into your hand, and it's not comfortable. Someone will make a
Oh, okay.
solution though. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah. We'll get all these 3D printers out there to get some of that flexible material that
Mm-hmm.
they could print it out with. That would be nice. Yeah. I personally don't have an issue with it. The controllers feel great to me. I'm not one of those monkeys out there that has the extra thumb knuckle that's hitting the back of the O-ring. I'm just joking. You're not monkeys, guys. It's okay. We all have opposable thumbs. It works. I did hear some complaints about people accidentally hitting the home button. Have that
Oh
happened to
yeah.
you? I can't even
So
imagine how that happens. Like, does that happen to you?
I it hasn't happened to me, it happened to Nat a whole bunch when I saw her first go in. So she was like looking for the X or something, or she was looking for the star button, which the star button's in a weird spot, and she'd
Yeah.
hit this down here. Or I think it's also a symptom if you have bigger thumbs, like when you push down on the stick, it's pretty close to pushing in that home button. And some people were having that issue. So I saw that with Nat when she was playing.
Maybe I do have like a monkey thumb or something. I mean, it's almost like a finger, right? If you look at it for
it,
the,
it,
it's
it's
like
longer than I expected. That's
here
what
we're
she
gonna.
said.
Sorry, sorry, listeners. We're gonna play a quick video game. This is a game called Thumb or Finger. I'm gonna slowly bring one into the view, and I need you to guess if it's a thumb or a finger. All right? Are
Okay.
you ready?
Okay.
Are you
I'm
ready?
ready.
Let's see if I can do this
Oh
right.
my gosh. This is
Oh,
great.
this is
I'm
thumb or
I'm so worried something else is gonna pop up on the screen here. Oh, that's a really small finger. That's a finger. That's like an index finger or something,
You're
right?
absolutely right, JayBratt.
Ah!
What is going on here? What are we talking about? Come on, it's not that far away. What do you think?
I feel like that might be the thumb now.
Okay, all right. So
Uh,
they're not that different. I do
it,
feel like I have some fingerish thumbs though, as I've been told. All right, cool. Is there anything else differentiating the Oculus or the PC headsets that PSVR like? Is there something missing with it? Right? Is there something that you think like, dang it, why didn't they just throw that in there? Aside from the wireless, we get it. It's beaten.
headphones or built-in speakers or something, man. Like, and when I say headphones, I don't mean the ones that came with it. Like
Yeah.
the Index has speakers on it. The Quest even has speakers, and they're not great, but like when you're demoing to someone, they work. They're okay to like show VR to someone. Like, how hard would it have been to put a little set of inline speakers in the head strap, and it would have just made things so much easier. Give us a headphone jack for those of us who want good headphones. But every headset, it seems like now, is coming more and more with built-in audio, and so that's another thing that just feels really behind on the PSVR2. That, and of course the Fresnel lenses, but I don't know if we want to get into all that too.
I do want to get into that. We're going to talk about that in the next little section here because thank you for bringing that up. Fresnel
Yes.
lenses. Fresnel is how it's spelled.
It
I want
is,
to
yes.
just mention though, because you mentioned the inline speakers. So a lot of
Mhm.
people didn't. They must have not had a PSVR2. You've seen this little doodad, right? I'm not zooming in. I'm not.
Yeah.
This little
Yeah.
doodad, right, where you put the earbuds in. I think
Mhm.
that's an adequate replacement. Granted, you know, if you're swapping headsets around and stuff like that, you don't want to stick your ear in where somebody else's ear has been.
Yeah.
I personally don't utilize that. I get the Pulse headset. It works pretty well for me, but it would be nice to just pop it on, not have to mess with my ear and get things going. But I think the earbuds that came with it do a decent enough job because they do kind of click in line. So that's kind of nice. I have the issue still for whatever reason when I put on my PSVR2 headset, regardless of the order I do. When I first put it on, it says, "Hey, take off your headset, look at the TV, see what we need," and it's like, "Oh, do you want to turn on your headphones?" It's like, "Yeah, of course. Show that to me on the PSVR thing." I think there's a workaround for it, but it's so frustrating to like gear up, put on the VR, tighten it, put on my headphones, and then be told that I got to take it all off again just to put it right back on the exact. Fix it, Sony. Fix it, cuck Cerny.
Mhm.
All right. So we talked about the tech. That's good.
Mhm.
I want to know from other consoles. We know there's a lot of Quest ports, a lot of PC ports. Everybody's tired of it. I'm not tired of it, right? I've not been a part of the PC ecosystem, the Quest ecosystem, very long. I don't play it that much, and Adam's played it none. What are some non PSVR2 games that must come to PSVR2 in your opinion? We're thinking aiming for the top here. We want PSVR2 to be the number one headset.
Mhm.
What has to show up?
Obviously, the main pick is Half-Life Alyx, and there's rumors that it's coming, but that's like been the big game in VR for many, many years. I think things like Boneworks and Bone Labs, everyone's like, of course, eventually those need to come because those were a big deal. But for me, a big one, and it is coming, but it needs to come already. I want it to come now. Walkabout Mini Golf is just
Yeah.
the most fun VR game. Weirdly, it does not have the most realistic graphics, yet I have seen more people try and lean on the rails, lean on the walls. There's something so immersive about the fact that you're thinking about playing mini golf that you forget that you're in a virtual world. And I've seen so many people almost fall down in that game. There's something magical about it. It needs to come out already.
So tell me about this, because mini golf is kind of a hard sell. I know this is
Mhm.
like the game everybody says you have to get, right? It is the VR game to play. I had a friend who was not particularly interested in VR, but he's played that, and I told him it was coming out on PSVR2, and he's like, "I'm going to put my pre-order in for the headset today if that's coming
Mhm.
to PSVR2." What is it? Just mini golf, but it feels good. Like I don't particularly love mini golf, so why would I care about it in VR?
I weirdly have to say I think it's better than real mini golf for some reason. The courses are beautiful, they're breathtaking. You're in there with your friends, hanging out, having a good time, and it's just challenging enough. There's different courses that get real challenging, but it's just challenging enough. Yeah, it's just rewarding enough at the same time that you always feel like you're kind of doing good at it and you're getting better and you're competing with your friends. And there's also something I'd mentioned. It's some weird immersion in it that when you get into it, you start to really fall into it in a way that doesn't always happen with VR games. And because of that, like it's my top recommended game to a lot of people who are new to VR. I'm like, you got to get this and try it. There's some X factor that I can't pinpoint that just makes it amazing.
Please tell me it's not the lack of cord. Please tell me the cord isn't going to ruin Walkabout Mini Golf.
I don't think the cord is going to matter because most of the time you're not turning that much yourself. You can teleport from place to place. There's some other locomotion options, but I don't actually like them in that game, weirdly. But mostly when it's your turn, you press your trigger, it lines you up in your spot to take your shot. And you just, you square up your shoulders, you look down at the ball, you see where it's going, and then you tap the ball. And on PSVR, it's going to be better than Quest because of that extra field of view. Is going to be a lot easier to see where you're trying to hit the ball.
You know what I think the magic is? You know what I think the X factor is? This is the Mario Golf effect, right? Before Mario Golf came out, nobody gave a rat's ass about golf games unless they were in like a bar playing PGA Tour or whatever. I think, because I don't care about golf at all, but I'll play Mario Golf all freaking day. I think you're right. I think it's that thing where you're doing better than you expected to do, and you feel accomplished playing golf, something that everybody sucks at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I of course, Half-Life Alyx, right? I mean, I played that on PC. I had to. That's going to be the game that gets people to buy a PSVR2 because they don't have a PC, but they could play Half-Life Alyx if they got it on PS5. You know, there's been such a lull. Okay, JayBratt, we're going to stop the recording here. I'm not really stopping the recording. We're going to stop recording here. You're an insider. What's the latest on Half-Life Alyx or PSVR2? You got hot tips? Getting flown out to Valve.
There was actually a lot of things before that said it was coming. There was a lot of rumors being spread, and ever since PSVR 2 has dropped, there hasn't been like another tidbit of information anywhere. So I don't know if that was hype train causing that stuff back in the day, or if now it's like, okay, we're close, so now let's like hush till it's gonna happen. I don't know, but it was talked about. It was like half confirmed for a long time, but Half-Life 3 was also confirmed for a long time. So. Don't bet too hard on it.
The conspiracy theorist in me is just like, oh, you know why they've gone quiet? Because it's real. That's why they've gone quiet.
That would make sense.
Which would also totally make sense if it's not going to happen, right?
That totally makes sense.
Oh, all right. So my last question in terms of just launch, considering eye tracking, considering the visual enhancements, considering the haptics, do you finally like Res now?
Oh, no. I still don't get it. I still don't understand what is. I paid the upgrade fee. I tried to get back in, and I'm just like, it does not have the X factor that you promised that it does. It has the X arena, whatever the heck that last
Area
one's called.
X,
Area
thank
X,
you.
and yet it just doesn't hit me like it hits. Because I would rather play Thumper than Res Infinite. Thumper is actually pretty good when you get in the zone and are really enjoying it. Res just doesn't hit me the same way. I don't know what it is.
You're turning into Adam here, and I don't like it. I might have to do segment 2 by myself.
He loves Res. What are you talking about? You guys have been sucking Res's cock forever, and I have never understood it.
He wants to put it at the bottom of the list below Thumper on our greatest PSVR2 games of all time. I don't get it. I don't get that. That's the thing. Adam, he's a coin that can be flipped either way. That's the way he goes. So I still love it. It's still brilliant to me.
It's because he wants to put Tetris Effect higher than it, but he's talked so much crap about Tetris Effect that he can't do it and get away with it. That's the problem. He loves Tetris.
You hit the nail on the head. He hasn't played it yet. He hasn't got the upgrade code. I have a feeling when we get around to reviewing it, he's gonna be like, you know what? I think they fixed it. I think they fixed it when nothing has changed. We're going over a lot of time here. Let's get through some technical questions here.
Okay.
Just to finish up segment 1, we could pick up in segment 2. JayBratt, I don't know what this stuff means, but I hear people talk about it. What is reprojection?
Reprojection is when the headset has to copy frames that it has, kind of the gap between one frame and the next, and kind of guess, okay, this is what is supposed to be happening. And so you'll see it when you're like playing like Gran Turismo 7. You're going really fast and you look off to the side, and the people, like, they're kind of jittering as they move past. They're not smoothly moving right past you. They're jittering a little bit. That's to make up for a lack of power that it
Hmm.
just can't quite hit 120 frames per second. A game like that, of course, it can't. Even a high-end PC probably couldn't pull that off with how good that game looks. So it's making up for it. It's tricking you a little bit, but if you know what you're looking for, you're gonna see it.
Okay, I don't know if I want to ask how I can look for it, but I see this in a lot of games coming out. People are complaining about reprojection. I think Tentacular, somebody said, "How do you play this game? It's reprojection hell. You can't even deal with it." And I was like, honestly, I can't see it. I don't want to see it because it's not bothering me.
Yeah, it's kind of like Mira. Don't look for it because once you see it, you're never gonna unsee it.
Okay, well, that was my next question: is what is Mira? So tell me what Mira is, but don't tell me how I'm going to see it. Because again, like, are these things as game breaking as people say it is?
It depends on the game. I don't think reprojection is ever that big of a deal, but the problem is some people get more sick if it's happening. And so for someone who
Mm,
gets sick, that might get you. Mira, if you are in a dark scene, it can be very distracting. And if you had PSVR1 as long as you did, I'm amazed you haven't seen it. Because if you get into some dark scene and you notice there's like this haze over the screen, it almost looks like your screen's a little foggy. But the thing about it that really makes it noticeable is when you turn your head left, it follows your head. Like it's always in the same
oh,
spot.
okay. I used to see
Yeah.
that. I used to play with it. Like I play a dark game and then it, be loading or something, and I have a
Yep.
couple
And
little
so you
white
like,
specks.
yep.
And I'd be like, let's make these babies dance. Yeah.
Yeah. That's Mira. And so in something like Resident Evil 8, in the beginning when it's dark outside, it's distracting because all of a sudden, instead of feeling like I'm looking off into the darkness and there might be a monster out there, you go, I'm looking at a screen because I can see the freaking screen right in front of my face.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's where Mira can be pretty immersion breaking if you're in a dark game. Every other game, you're barely going to notice it unless you're looking for it. Dark scenes, it's kind of a problem.
Oh, wow. Okay. But so this doesn't happen with other headsets, or is this a result of the Fresnel lens that you
It's
mentioned?
an OLED problem, is
Oh,
what it
okay.
is. OLED screens, every single pixel on the screen is not exactly the same brightness. And OLED screens can beat this because they can turn off each pixel and be complete black, and then it looks truly like darkness. But in a lot of games, they don't want to do that because it'll create smear. So if a pixel's completely turned off, it can't turn on quite fast enough if you turn your head. So they'll keep it in like this really low, almost black. But what happens then is this one is almost black, this one is dark gray, this one's light gray. And so you see all of the pixels in that dark scene instead of them fully shutting off. And that's what messes it up for people. And it's an OLED problem because LCD screens don't really have this issue, but LCD screens don't pull off real blacks either. They're just gray, smeary messes. So you just can't win.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have the OLED HDR stuff rather than the LCD. But who
Yeah.
knows? We'll get even better one. I don't know what the next technology is. Micro LED. Yeah,
Micro LED. Yep.
yeah.
That's
Who
going
cares
to be
about
the game
that?
changer.
Yeah. You mentioned Fresnel lens. What's the deal with that? Why should we be upset about Fresnel lens?
God rays. So if there's a completely black night and you see the moon and then you see this like halo of light shining around the moon, that's God rays. And it's all those concentric rings in there causing this glare basically. And you should be extra upset because PSVR1 used its own lenses they designed that were not Fresnel lenses that didn't have them at all. And so people were always
Mm.
like, how do these lenses look so good on this crappy PSVR? Well, then all of a sudden you're on PSVR2, and now we have the crappy old lenses that all those headsets have when other headsets are moving on to pancake lenses. So Fresnel lenses just kind of seem a little outdated at the moment.
Pancake sounds like it'd be less technologically impressive, but I
I
guess it's
know.
just the next.
It
Fresnel sounds
sounds like that.
scientific.
Yeah. But pancake lenses are amazing. I have them on the Quest Pro and they're amazing.
I feel like there could be an accessory to reduce that God ray effect. Like there's got to be like lenses you could put at intermediaries. Anyways, we got to move on. JayBratt, you had a video about infrared floodlights.
Mhm.
Why would I need one? What's going on there?
Because if you're like, I mean, on the PSVR, it's probably not gonna be as necessary, but like for people who wanted to lay in bed next to their love on their Quest 2 and have the room completely dark so their love could sleep and yet they could be inside their headset playing a game in bed next to them, the Quest would use the infrared light to track the room around them, and they could still be in there watching a movie or playing a game with perfect tracking, yet the room is completely dark on the outside. Same for people who really hate light bleed and think light bleed is the worst thing ever. They could play in a dark room, no light bleed anymore, and the infrared light is what's making you see everything.
Is that going to give me cancer?
Oh,
I'll just
I'm
tell
not
you,
a
it won't.
doctor.
No,
I'm
it
not a
won't.
doctor,
Yeah.
but I did get a comment saying it will.
It definitely will not.
No, it's such a small amount. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's no way infrared light's penetrating the skin that way. So does it improve tracking? Is that possible?
Only if it's dark. already. Only
Okay.
if dark spots are your problem, it can help if it's dark in the room. But if you have perfect lighting or you got plenty of light up, it's not really going to help you.
Okay, because sometimes my headset skips, and I don't know what. I think it might be like my computer monitors or TV or something
Mhm.
like that, where I'm sitting there, and for a split second, it will like jilt like that, and then come back. Do you know what's causing that?
It's probably if you're looking at your monitor, and there's even a setting in the PlayStation if you have like, because when I was standing in front of my big TV, it was screwing it up all the time. And then I was like, wait, I don't have to look at the TV, there's no camera anymore, I can just turn away. And so I turned away. But there's an option, it'll take your screen, it'll make your screen smaller, and it'll put this black and white pattern of the PlayStation symbols around it, so that'll help the headset see that and track that, instead of seeing, oh my gosh, he's looking at the World of Horizon, and the World of Horizon just turned, I need to turn the headset now.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, maybe that's the issue. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's my head. I got an odd shaped head. Um, JayBratt, sorry, this is just turning into you being my support person. When I play Pavlov for more than like 10 minutes, I start getting intense chest pain and like a tingle on my left arm. Is that okay?
That's probably just the gunshots from the other players starting to affect your physical body. You're so immersed that your body's like, I'm dying and I have to really die. So if you stay in a little longer, you just might actually die. True
And
immersion.
that's next level immersion. That's what we're going for PSVR2 is getting you to the end. My last question for you, JayBratt, and then we'll close out this segment is, what is the appropriate length of a male penis?
Oh, I keep hearing the average is somewhere between 5 and 6. I'm not sure which one that is, but I've heard that the standard if you want to get into the adult industry is 7, and if you have a 9, then you're going to be a star.
Okay, so not 4.
Anything, I think if you're under 5, it's not a problem until you're under 3, and then you're considered micro. I think if you're 5 or above, you're considered average and normal. If you're 4.5, just be like every guy in the world that's 5'11" that says they're 6 foot. Just say you're 5 inches if you're 4.5. No one's gonna measure it.
Thank you. I feel a lot better after this. I feel a lot better after this talk because I've been living in fear that PSVR2. Not about that. I'm great in terms of that. That's wonderful. I don't know what listener put this question in here. We're good. I hear all this talk about PSVR2 stuff not being so great. Or just not as great as we expected. I was so hyped for it. It's living up to my expectations, but I'm concerned that we're not going to be seeing the success of PSVR2 that I feel like it warrants. And things like reprojection, mirror effect get hammered on. And I'm afraid it's scaring people away. So that'll bring us into our next discussion when we come back after the segment break. We're going to be talking about the infamous Bloomberg article that came out this week. So stay tuned, and we will talk about that after the break.
I do that. I do that. I do that.
All right, welcome to segment 2 of Play PSVR2, the podcast, episode 114, featuring the glorious JayBratt. JayBratt, we were going to talk about it in segment 1. We got too excited. We were talking about extracurriculars, but we do have to discuss the elephant in the room this week for Play PSVR2, the Bloomberg article, I'll call it. Mochizuki, that developer. Have you read the article? Do you want to just give a broad overview of what it kind of states?
I'll do my best, but it's behind a paywall, so I read a lot of articles about the article. But the article basically says that Sony has not hit their projections with the PSVR 2 and they're failing, and they bet big on the metaverse and they're failing and losing and blah, blah, blah. And they're saying basically in its first month, it sold 270,000 units. Who knows where they're getting that number, but that's grossly low because they made 2 million, which doesn't necessarily mean they're going to freaking sell 2 million, but they made 2 million. That's way too little. And all the developers are going to pull out because there's not going to be enough return on their investment. The world has come crashing down, basically.
Yeah. That's basically it. I think I got Internet Archive or something gave me access to the article without having to pay it. So you can get around the paywall by doing that. This is that guy who wrote the article just before the PSVR 2 launched that said Sony slashes expectations or production down to 1 million units from 2 million. When it turns out Sony never announced their production numbers. This guy just wrote an article before saying that he was going to have 2 million. They were projecting 2 million units. And then he lowered it to 1 million, saying that Sony slashed it. Sony came out and categorically denied it. This guy doesn't have the best track record, but yes, this latest article says that there's an estimated 270,000 units reportedly sold. Now, That doesn't sound huge. Doesn't sound bad, right? PSVR1, I think, took an entire year before it could sell 1 million units or something along those lines, or 8 months to hit a million units. So if you're thinking linearly, right, 270,000 in the first month, not bad.
No.
Of course, we expect a big splash at launch, and then things will slow down until they pick up again at some point. But does this give you any trepidation? At least the report.
No.
Assume this is true. Does it make you worried for the future of PSVR2?
No, because there's a lot of factors they're not accounting for here. One, when PSVR1 came out, everyone and their mother had a PS4 for some random reason. I'm no joke. Nat's mom had one, and I don't know why.
It's because I was over
two,
there all the time.
there it is. Two, like people have said too, like, oh, it's too expensive. That's why people aren't buying them. People can't buy them until they have a freaking PS5. And yes, things have gotten better here in the US, but there's a ton of part of the world where no one can get a freaking PS5. You're not even going to think about getting a PSVR2 if you don't have a PS5, or even if you've had a PS5 for a short amount of time. And three, it's been a soft launch. They don't even sell them in Best Buy yet still. Like, you can only get it through Sony. They kept it kind of quiet. They didn't do a bunch of announcements because they need more people to get PS5s first. And how often do you have a lot of fun with something that's soft? You don't. You got to get to the hard launch, which is once going to hit all the retail stores. And that's when you have fun with it, once it's hard. So no, I'm not worried. I think this person's just trying to hit a stride and hoping that they're going to make some big splash with their article, which, I mean, we're talking about it, so I guess it did, but I don't think this is indicative of anything serious. And we all knew PSVR2 is spendy. It's premium. It's not going to sell like the Quest does. You could practically buy 3 Quests back in the day at the low price they started at. PSVR2 is not going to be just like the Quest.
Yeah, I think my concern, yeah, I'm not just if this number is real, one, I'm not really necessarily disappointed because, like you said, the PS5 production hasn't really met the PS4 production, right? PS4 had been out for a long time before PSVR1 came out. PS5's only been out for about a year or so. And then I assume as more games come out, word of mouth will spread and get people excited about Gran Turismo 7, which wasn't really heralded at launch the way maybe it should have been, I think. My concern, and I saw this happen with Google Stadia, I was like the one of 2 people in the world that actually liked Google Stadia. When that launched, it worked beautifully for me, and I loved it. But all the news articles were naysaying how nobody's playing it or it doesn't work. And I have a fear that negative media will prevent people from adopting technology.
Oh, yeah.
And that will have a knock-on effect of developers not putting things out there, investing funds into building things. Sony can do their part, help push investors to it, which it sounds like that's what they've been doing. But speaking specifically about the number 270,000, the company, the group, the market research group, IDC, I don't know what it stands for, but I went to their website, read about their methodology, and they talk about their boots on the ground approach to figure out how many numbers or how many units are being sold. Now, what is funny about that approach is maybe for every other console that's ever launched, that might be appropriate, right? Because you can go to GameStop, you can see how many are on the shelf, you can see how many games are in stock, for that requisite thing, kind of figure out what the attachment rate is and stuff like that. But in America, we just have PlayStation Direct. That's going to be the biggest market buying this, right? We only have PlayStation Direct. I doubt Sony's showcasing the numbers of units that are being sold. There's no real physical copy presence. You can't buy a disc version of Call of the Mountain, I believe, or anything from GameStop. So I don't know where they could have gotten their numbers or estimates aside from just doing random polling with people, or they're basing it off entirely GameStop and Best Buy sales figures that they're getting in Canada or abroad. So maybe they have something I don't know. I've argued with people on Reddit about this, but I have a feeling like whatever analytics they typically run are probably not exact. But I do just hate that the article came out because I am worried that people who are on the fence might read this and be like, oh, yep, this is the next Vita, which they said that about PSVR1, and it totally wasn't. It was a good success for them. It was the best-selling headset for a while. And knowing PSVR2 fixes all the issues of PSVR1, has some of the best graphics you can get in VR for any system. I need this bad boy to succeed because what we have starting with ends up being so good compared to what we could have in the end. So I don't know. You mentioned the soft launch. What would a hard launch look like for you for the PSVR 2?
A hard launch would have been like PSVR 1. I would have been able to pre-order it 6 months before, like I did with PSVR 1. I would have walked into a GameStop on pre-order day and pre-ordered it. I could have gotten it at GameStop, Best Buy, Walmart, Target, any of these places. I wouldn't have had to buy it direct from Sony. There would have been other options. And we haven't had that here. It's literally, hey, you can buy it from Sony if you get permission to. It was a while before they opened up pre-orders to everyone. It was not that kind of a launch. It would have had stock in stores on day one if it was a hard launch. This was like, hey, you can get one now, but it was kind of almost like, we don't have that many games. Like we're gonna wait a little minute before we really push this thing either. Like, this is the enthusiasts who have bought it now. This is not everyone who's getting it yet.
When do you anticipate them, at least in the States, releasing this to GameStop and Best Buy and Walmart and stuff to try to buy this?
I would think it'd be 3 to 6 months after. So I would think, next month, the following month, maybe, because like we should see that there should be these on shelves in places, and Sony knows they're holding it back by not doing that. There was tons of people that I saw on Reddit that were like, I had all these Amazon gift cards ready, and guess what? I can only buy it from Sony. So now they're waiting. They're sitting on $500 of Amazon gift cards because that's how they were going to buy it. And that's what happens. People are going to trade in a bunch of their crap at GameStop and try and get a lower deal on it. When you can only buy it from Sony for cold, hard cash, you're limiting a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a good point. And especially holiday season stuff, when that comes around, they got to have it on shelves for then, because that's going to be people walking into the store trying to find something for Timmy for his for Christmas or something like that, and they see a VR headset and they're like, "Oh, he's got a PS5. That'll be really cool." So I really hope that happens. I don't know what their reasoning was for holding it back. Maybe they were trying to counteract scalpers or something like that. Maybe they're just trying to make as much money off what they have now, or mitigate the losses potentially if it's being sold at a loss. But no, maybe there's a flagship title. Maybe that's what's holding Astrobot back, right?
Yeah.
They're going to wait for the summer and then launch this in stores with an Astrobot pack in. I don't know. I'm happy with the PSVR2 now. I think these numbers probably aren't too accurate, considering Sony said that they sold half of what they produced already, which they supposedly produced 1 million units. So I don't know. It's disappointing the article came out. We're talking about it. We probably shouldn't be talking about it, but we talk about PSVR2 stuff all the time here. So that's kind of what we're supposed to be doing. I'm not going to link to the article just because I don't know where to find the link now.
F that article.
F that article. Anyways, some good news. Good news for the listeners. We have a code to give away. I should have said it at the top, but maybe I'm rewarding the people who listen to the whole podcast. We have a code to give away, courtesy of our homeboy JayBratt here. This is a code for Before Your Eyes. To get this code, just send us an email. contact@playpsvr.com. Tell us you want to get the code for Before Your Eyes. We're going to do a random selection here. So none of this, cherry picking stuff. We'll announce the winner on the next episode. But who wants the code if they don't know anything about the game? So for that reason, gaming is in session. All right, taking the stand tonight is Before Your Eyes. Before Your Eyes is a game developed by Goodbye World Games, published by Skybound Interactive at a price of $15.99. What we're going to do with this review is I'm going to discuss the game a little bit. JayBratt's going to discuss the game a little bit. We're going to come up with our final verdict on whether or not this game is worthy of your PSVR library. It's a bit of a shorter game. It's about 60 to 90 minutes long, depending on how quickly you blink. We'll get into that a little bit. So first, I'll go ahead and lead the discussion with my impressions of the game. One thing to note, it's a PSVR2 exclusive. We don't have too many of those. That's what people are asking for the PlayStation VR2.
For virtual realities version, yes.
For virtual reality version, good point. This game came out on PC. It required a webcam, or you could use mouse clicking, but the game's not designed to be used with button presses. This game leverages the eye tracking technology to detect when you blink to progress the story. So, for those unaware, the way this game works is you're on a boat heading towards what appears to be the afterlife. But before you are judged, a dog, wolf man must aggregate your life story to present to the gatekeeper to determine your ultimate fate. So you follow the memories of a boy throughout his life. And as you're recounting these memories that kind of pass into your view, you are given the option to blink. Now, sometimes you blink to interact, to kind of open up an extra element of the memory. But primarily what's happening is when you blink, it's progressing time. So you're watching a memory, maybe you as an infant on the beach, and you really want to hang into that moment and soak in this memory. But then you blink, and suddenly you're a couple weeks older, a couple months older, a couple years older. And so the premise of the game is you're encountering this life flashing before your eyes, and whether you like it or not, that memory fades away, and you're on to the next one. I don't want to get into the story too much because really this is kind of like watching a decent indie movie. The game's all about the story being told to you. The eye tracking, the first person view, the VR experience is all about you feeling like you are this boy going through his memories. I will say the blinking mechanic very cool. Worked exactly how I needed it to. I was a bit skeptical that it wouldn't detect my blinks. And the biggest surprise was that I did indeed, as I was watching the memories, want to not blink. I wanted to get the rest of these elements. I'm hearing somebody talk, hearing my mother talk to me, and I want to remember this memory of my mother talking to me, getting excited about a picture that I just drew. I'm hearing my parents both talk to each other about how wonderful they think I am, or just something along those lines. Enjoy these slices of life, but then I'd be startled because I didn't know it. I blinked, and suddenly I'm a couple days older, and something else is happening in my life, which sounds frustrating, right? Like that's you don't want to leave that memory. You don't want to leave that story. You don't want to cut off that dialogue that you found yourself entranced in. But that's exactly what was so cool about this was when I separate myself, when I get involved in the story, get involved with what's happening, I stop thinking about trying to keep my eyes open as long as I can. I relax, I blink, bam, we're on to the next memory. So I was surprised. I was surprised that I was getting engaged in these short bite-sized, 5, 10, 15-second memories. And that this dialogue that seems innocuous, I wanted to hear. I wanted to experience that. And it was getting cut off. And I just felt this tug of longing of like, I just wanted one more second. Take me back, which is exactly what this game is designed to make you feel. Other elements of the game, sound design, character design, nothing to write home about in terms of like, it doesn't look like real people. It's kind of cartoonish, artistic, and artistic direction taken, liberties taken. But it's charming, and the voice acting is realistic enough. It sounds like somebody talking to you. You have some of that 3D audio, so it sounds like they're around you a bit. I'm sitting in a classroom next to a girl. I hear her whisper to me, and so I look to the right, and there she is. All these things that make these memories feel real, even though it doesn't necessarily look real. So I appreciated that. One other bit of interaction, it's not just blinking, is that there's head aiming. So there is an icon in the middle, kind of like Resident Evil 7 had, that kind of points to where you're looking. And there are things that you're doing where you look to a certain location and there's an interaction that occurs, which is something I didn't expect. I didn't expect to be sitting in a bathtub and then moving a boat around in the water as a baby, trying to pop bubbles with this boat while moving my head around. I appreciate that. It gives you the option for trophies, oddly enough. I wondered how trophies are going to work, but I got a trophy for popping the most bubbles. That was great. But that's the kind of thing that's going to bring you back. It's an extra interaction. You don't have to play with a controller. You don't need your Sense controllers. I had the DualShock just to navigate the menu. So that little element was unexpected, a nice surprise, and it makes me want to go back and see, like, okay, what did I not interact with? What can I do again? But overall, it feels like watching a really decent indie movie, and although the story might not be your cup of tea, I have to appreciate that they set out to make me want to hold on to these memories and not forget these memories. And that's exactly what I felt. More often than not, it was like, I just want another second. I want another 2 seconds. I want to know what happened. Give me that. Don't let me forget this. And I have to appreciate that. So that's my quick impressions on Before Your Eyes. That's my quick review of Before Your Eyes. JayBratt, I want to hear your input on Before Your Eyes. You played it before we started this podcast. What are your thoughts on it?
I want to start with saying something that's a big deal to me, because PSVR1, there was an X factor to some of the games. Some of the things, they were experimental. In Astrobot, you held up a flower and you blew, and you, with your literal breath, and the petals blew away on it. And there was magic to some of the games in PSVR1. And this is the first game on PSVR2 that started to recapture that magic. It wasn't perfect. There was this issue where if you moved your head more than like 6 inches in either direction, it was like return to play area. And that was driving me crazy. And it was weird that I was using the head turning and not eye tracking. The eye tracking's there. Why was that? But yet the experimentalness with the blinking, the fleeting moments that I didn't want to pass me, it started to bring back a little bit of that PSVR1 magic that I've been looking for and have never found on the Quest. And it was like, oh my gosh, my heart, I just missed that so much. So this game, it's almost more of an experience. It's hard to call it a game. It is a game, but like it's kind of like an interactive movie or a storytelling. And in the very beginning, the ferryman tells you you're going to want to stay in some of these memories, but you can't. You have to keep moving. And that's why you need to use the blinking, because it forces you to skip ahead when you don't want to sometimes, and you miss a little bit of the story. But it's like life. It's teaching you that moments are fleeting, and it's your one chance to see things. You can't go back. And it's like, man, this game hits on another level because of that, because there's so much that you can apply to real life. And it's only going to go as far as you go with it. If you're a deep person and you think deep thoughts, you might find a lot in this. If you're someone who just wants to go play a shooter, you might find this to be the most boring game and hate it. That's just the nature of this game, I found myself getting so involved in it. And we're gonna keep this spoiler free, but man, there was a time where I got really emotional. It was tough, and that doesn't happen to me very often in games, let alone in VR games. And it's just like, wow, there was some power to this.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And Adam mentioned on the last episode that he thought that it wasn't a great character to have go through this environment because it was unrelatable. I thought this was going to be a story about, enjoying time with your own children or something like that. But really, the moments that hit me the hardest is the story of being the child and remembering these interactions with your own parents. And what that did was reframe my life with my children and think, oh, this is how my children are going to remember me, which was a very impressive, shift in my thinking of how memories work, what's important. And so it's not just I need to hold on to this moment so that I can remember it and appreciate what's happening now. It's also I need to be careful what I'm doing now because it's not just my memory that I'm creating. It's somebody else's memory that I'm creating too. That was a very touching thing that I totally did not expect this game to teach me. And it's very rare that a game teaches me something in life that I feel like I need to remember and hold on to. Adam is probably screaming at the podcast right now. But yeah, it's surprising. I, like you, encountered some of the issues with it saying I lost tracking. I was trying to lean over to my friend in the classroom to whisper to them to get some more interaction there. And it makes sense, right? You don't want to move too much because this game wasn't designed for like a 6DoF freedom environment, but it is still 6DoF in a sense. And yeah, it didn't have the eye tracking. That makes sense. You had to move your head around. It would have been nice to do the eye tracking, but I think that might have distracted if the eye tracking didn't work well enough to track what you're looking at. It would have been... I get distracted with eye tracking sometimes where it's like, no, I really want to look just a little bit above it, but now I'm stuck staring at where my eye tracking is looking. So I appreciate the ability to force it to select something. Elements I did really like, there's some piano playing in it, and that is a bit of a mini game. And once you figure out how that works, it's kind of thrilling. And it takes into account, did you practice piano enough and stuff like that? So there's a challenge to it there. I enjoyed that. I got a minor thrill, kind of some drums rock vibe out of that. Of like, oh, I feel like I'm playing piano right now, when really I'm just moving my head back and forth. That was really cool. But
Nat's a musician, and that drove her crazy though. She was sitting there watching me play. And the problem is it's playing a real song. There's beautiful classical music in throughout this, but the problem is it's having you look the whole span of the piano back and forth to play this mini game. But so it's hitting keys all up and down, which is nothing near what you'd actually be hitting to play the song. And she's like, why? That's the wrong keys. Why is it doing that? I was driving her nuts as a musician watching this happen.
I understand why they did that, because it probably would have been too daunting to actually do like a Guitar Hero simulator of like, look at this key, look at this key, look at this key.
Yep.
Maybe there's a hard mode they can release later that will satisfy Nat's obsession with accuracy in piano playing. But yes, I did enjoy that element. It added some nice musical flourish to the game as well, and some interesting challenge in a game I didn't expect to have any challenge whatsoever. But with that, that's our discussion. JayBratt, I want to know what your final verdict is. Do you find Before Your Eyes guilty, hung, or not guilty?
I find it undisputed, definitely guilty.
All right, and I as well find it undisputed, definitely guilty, which gives us the final judgment on the charge of being a worthy addition to your PSVR2 library. We find Before Your Eyes guilty as charged, baby. This game, I had high hopes for it. It landed perfectly and exceeded my hopes as well. It wouldn't be a PSVR2 review if we didn't rank it on the greatest games for PSVR2 of all time. Now, you don't have the spreadsheet in front of you. I apologize. I'm going to give you a quick rundown. I have a feeling this is going to be in the top half, so I won't give you the whole thing. But number 1 is Resident Evil 8. Number 2 is Gran Turismo 7. Number 3 is Runner. Number 4 is Demio. Number 5 is Puzzling Places. And number 6 is Drums Rock. Thinking about those, do you have any inkling of where you would rate this game? And I'll tell you where I would rank it, and we can find somewhere in the middle to put it.
Well, here's the problem. It's not better than Demio. It's definitely better than Puzzling Places. But I wouldn't have put Runner better than Demio either. So your list doesn't quite satisfy my needs. I would have put it at like number 3 behind Demio and Gran Turismo. So that's where I would have put it.
So you're putting it under Demio. Now, Man, again, Adam's going to kill me. And it's his fault for not being here today when we reviewed this game. I would certainly put this above Runner. I think, aside from the gameplay elements, Runner's a very fun game. But this game does something magical that other games just haven't been able to do. Like I said, it teaches me life lessons and really makes me feel things that games don't really make me feel. I would put it above Runner. I would also make this number 3. I think splitting the difference there, we can go ahead and put this above Demio for me. Oh, man. Now, okay, so you had it above Demio. I had it above Demio. Now the question is, do we supersede Adam and put it above Runner?
I definitely think that I've been in VR for like 7 years, and there's maybe 4 or 5 games that have hit me emotionally this hard. It's got to be up there. If a game can make you cry, if it can hit you that much in the feels, it's a top of the line game.
Wait, so you said you put it below Demio, right?
I put it below Demio, but above Runner, but that's because your list doesn't agree with me. I would not have put Runner that high.
So you would have it at number 5. I would have it at number 3. So I think we have to split that difference, put it at number 4, which unfortunately puts it below Runner. It puts it below Runner. Adam, whoo boy, you lucked out big time here. So just recapping our top 5 now, we have Resident Evil 8, number 1, Gran Turismo 7, number 2, Runner, number 3. Oh, it lucked out so big because we are putting Before Your Eyes as number 4 on the greatest PSVR2 all-time rankings. Thank you, JayBratt, for joining me in that review. I needed that support there because I knew this game was going to rate high and I knew Adam wouldn't let it happen. But JayBratt, to reward you, we got to have some beans, man. We got to have some beans. We can't have you on this podcast without having some beans. Yeah. Do you still have gamer juice? Did you get something to drink in the segment break?
I got another one here. I can crack open to save me from the beans.
You might need to do it. While you crack that open, I'm going to explain how this game works. This is the Metacritic guessing game. We've done this before. It's an over-under style game. So I will tell you a game. You will set the line, and I will guess over or under if the Metacritic score. This is the official critic rating score, not the user score. I will guess over or under. We can actually alternate. So the first one, you'll set the line. Second one, I'll set the line. And the winner wins. The loser eats a bean. Are you prepared?
Yeah. Are we talking a bean per game or 1 bean for the whole game?
A bean per game. We're eating a lot. We're eating dinner tonight.
Oh, God. A bean per round. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me crack open my beans then. I am ready.
I got a nice pile of them over here. And I have my little spin wheel selector that's going to let me know. So, all right, JayBratt, right out of the gate. We talked about it a little bit. Horizon, Call of the Mountain. Where are you going to set the line on that one, buddy? What are you thinking?
Oh, I'm going to set the line at it's out of 100, right?
Out of 100, yeah, out of 100.
I'm going to set the line at 74.
70. Oh, that's a good line. That's a good line. Dang it. Oh, because I saw a lot of 7s out there, but then I saw some crazy 9s too. Oh, dang it. 74 is perfect. Oh. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm anticipating the Hype Machine 1. I'm going to take the over on that. I'm thinking we're going 75 or higher. Let me look up Horizon Call of the Mountain. Oh, you can't see. I promise you. The score is a 79, which means you need a bean. Please tell me you didn't just cheat so that you could lose and make me feel better. 79. No. Oh man. Yes. All right. What bean you got? What bean you got?
What's the green? What's the greenish?
Don't even play that game. I see a barf sitting there on top. The green is a booger.
The green barf is a booger. One will be next.
How is it? Is it booger? Is it juicy pear? How you feeling?
It's definitely not a pear.
Does it taste like cheese?
It's salty.
Yeah, that's a booger. That boogers have a lot of salt in it. That might actually just be a booger, like not even a bean.
I'll say I can handle a booger over a barf though, so that's okay.
The barf is a game changer. All right, next game on the list. This is a game. Thought we were going to review it today, but I need to review it with Adam. This is Song in the Smoke. This is a game that came out on Quest. Now, here's the issue. We're reviewing this for PS5, but I don't know if we'll be able to find the PS5 review. Should we set 2 lines? What do you think? I want to be fair about this.
I think 1 line is fine. Whatever Metacritic says goes. So I have no idea what to guess on this one. So we're both going to be like 50-50 chance here.
All right. So I know this game got a lot of praise for the PSVR1, even though it got underplayed. I think people appreciate it on the Quest, but it wasn't quite up to snuff on the Quest. I think PSVR, we'd be looking at like a strong mid 80 for Quest, probably somewhere in the mid 7s. PS5, people who've played it seem to love it. I think that's another strong mid 80s. Because of that, I'm going to set the line at 80, right in the middle.
Ooh, I gotta take over. I feel like it's gonna be just barely over 80. I hope though. I'm scared.
You're thinking like an 81 or
scared.
something like that? Okay,
I think it's
I set the line at 80. Gonna search right here. We got Song in the Smoke. We are looking at the only score being reported is apparently the PC game. It's got a 78.
ah. I'm eating dinner here, man. I'm eating all the beans.
I'm so
my
sorry.
gosh.
I wish we had other. Let me see. Here's what I can do. I can see if the rekindled edition has an aggregate score. It doesn't. It's only got 3 reviews, unfortunately. I could average those, but it's still going to be under because it's a 70, and an 85. You're eating a bean, buddy. You're eating a bean.
Oh, it's barf.
Is that
Oh,
barf?
it's
JayBratt.
barf.
JayBratt, your night is ruined,
Oh.
man. Your night is ruined. I promise you,
ate-
I didn't cheat here.
I should have ate dinner. He tried to cheat before us. He was going to look up all the Metacritic scores. I was like, you can't look up the scores before we do the game.
I was thinking we were going to make this professional, but no, you're right. I can't look it up before the game. How you feeling, buddy?
Drowned it with the ginger beer.
That doesn't sound better. That doesn't sound better. Oh, you might have a better chance with this one. I feel like you understand this game better than I do. Kayak VR, the Mirage, or whatever the subtitle is. I haven't played this game. I know people love it. People liked it on PC and stuff like that. What are you thinking for Kayak VR? You get to set the line on this one.
This is a tricky one because it's all going to be about what you pick. I'm going to set the line. I know it's got to be high. I'm going to set the line at 90, which I feel like is risky.
Okay. Yeah. Are you sure about that?
I am not sure, but I'm going for it. I'm just
90. Okay.
I know.
All right. I'm obviously taking the under.
Yeah.
Because like Ocarina of Time is like a 91.
You had to.
Okay. I'm taking the under. Dude just wants to eat beans. He's hungry for beans. I think he likes it, guys. I'm looking up beans. Kayak VR Mirage. Yeah. The only review we have for Kayak VR Mirage is the PS5 version, and it has a 74. 74.
So it's not the PSVR? It's PSVR only, right?
PSVR only, yeah. The PSVR PS5 version, yeah.
Okay, something's wrong there because I've seen like 90s. I've seen people like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 is the best. It was the most downloaded game.
Yeah.
On PSVR.
Here, I'm going to type in Kayak, not just Kayak VR. I'm going to type in Kayak and search for that. See what comes up. Okay, we'll type in Kayak VR because we don't need to worry about Kayak Mini Pro for the iOS. Kayak VR, the only one being reported is the PS5 version. The PC version doesn't have enough reviews. I mean, if we go with the PC version, yeah, that's got a lot of 90s and stuff like that, but it's still just 3 reviews. So we got 90, 90, 72. That's probably somewhere in the 80s range. That's still going to be below your 90 threshold. So eat another bean, buddy. Do not feed it to the cat. It will barf it up. And you'll have to eat that
This
barf.
one's the toasted marshmallow. This isn't bad. I can handle these all day.
Toasted marshmallows or stink bug?
Let's stink bug, but I can handle a stink bug. Oh god, this next one. See, you rigged the list too, because the next game is Res Infinite, and I know you know what the score is because you guys love this freaking game.
So we will make sure it's either the PSVR or the PSVR2 version. Res Infinite. What do you? Oh, I get to set the line. Oh my. Yep. Okay. All right. I'm going to set the line at. I'm setting the line at 85. This game gets a lot of hype. I think it's better than 85. I'm going to set the line at 85. What are you thinking, man?
I feel like I should choose over because of how much you guys praise it, but I don't like the game. So I feel like it'd be hypocritical for me to take over. So I'm going to take under because I don't like the game. I would give it less than 85. I feel like I'm going to be eating another bean for that, but I'm sticking to my principles, man. I am not letting it go.
Res Infinite coming out of the gate. PS5 version is an 88.
It's bull crap because the game sucks. Okay, I knew that it was going to be over that. I knew it, but by my morals, I don't like the game. I'm not going to say that it's better than that.
Let's be fair. Let's say we're just looking at the PS4 version. Oh, that's an 89. Okay, you know what? That's not fair. Let's look at the PC version. Oh no, that's also an 89. I think it's verifiably the best multi-console PSVR or multi-console virtual reality game. We're looking at 89 for Res Infinite, which means you eat another bean, buddy.
You got home court advantage here too. Don't forget that I never play this game. Oh, I don't. Is this another bar? Oh God, please don't be bar. Please actually be the good thing.
You're too skeptical. You're gonna chew it and be like, it's a little bit sweet. Then it turns into a barf, buddy. Here's the thing about the barf bean: they meant for it to taste like pepperoni pizza. So if you feel like you tasted pepperoni pizza, remember that's vomited pepperoni pizza.
Although after all these beans, it doesn't taste as bad as the first one did.
Was it
It's
a barf?
It's barf, but it doesn't taste that bad because I've eaten so many crappy beans.
You taste the barf in your
Oh.
stomach is what happens with the
Oh,
barf.
I know. It
Yeah.
gets you in the after. I've played this game before. It gets you in the after.
I feel so bad you've had 5 beans. I'm over here ready to chomp. I'm hungry. Why are you eating all of my dinner? You're not supposed to eat all of my beans. You're supposed to let me have some beans too so that we can both get full and sick.
This was not my plan, okay? It just did not work. This is not my night for the over-under game. Okay, you got one mystery one here, and I guess I'm setting the line.
All right. This is your chance for revenge to get your final opinion across. This mystery game is Stunt Kite Masters VR. Stunt Kite Masters VR.
You know the score. This is
I do not know the score. I do not know the score. I swear. I've never looked at the score. I know my score for it is 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10.
I know.
What is your score for Stunt Kite Masters VR?
Oh, I guess I'm going to go 70. I have no idea.
JayBratt, my friend.
You think it's going to be higher than 70?
No, nobody likes this game the way I like this game. We're speaking real talk here. You're giving it a 70. You're putting it in the ballpark of, okay, I guess that's less than Horizon. 70? Okay. This game sold for $2.99.
Let's go. You're convincing me it's bad. I feel like you're tricking me here. But let's drop it just a little bit. We'll go 65. You're still probably going to win it, but I'll pull it down a little because you're scaring me now. So I'm reeling it back a bit. But if you screwed me somehow in this, I feel like you should just eat the last bean with me because I know you're hungry. So
I think we'll see how this goes. I'm taking the over.
You're taking
the over. This is a moral stance.
You did trick me into lowering it.
This is a moral stance. I was going to take the over on a 72. This is a moral stance. Well, actually, I think it's going to be around the 68 range. So maybe.
So let's split the difference. Let's say 69, the perfect number. And you take the over. You take the over on 69.
I'm taking the over on 69. Okay. We're looking at it's going to break my heart if it's actually that low. All right, Stunt Kite Masters. And wouldn't you know it? It doesn't have a single.
Doesn't have a score.
Okay, we're gonna look at so the only review for the PSVR version is 59. It got a 59. I'm gonna go to the PC version. We'll see what this got 0 reviews. You win. The only review is a 59.
I win.
All right, we get the spin wheel. Let's do the spin wheel. You know what? You've been such a champ here. I'm gonna pick out a barf.
Oh God. You should pick out a barf and something else. Do a little mixture. See if you can bring it together better.
Well, we'll pick out a barf and a rotten fish. Now, if this becomes a peach strawberry sorbet, then it means that I am
it means you are the chosen one. You are the chosen one.
Yeah, is an 11 out of 10 officially. So let's go ahead and pop these down the hatch. All right.
That looks so grumpy, doesn't she? She looks so angry.
You know what? I think the strawberry sorbet. Oh, that's barf.
You barfed up a strawberry sorbet.
It tastes like. Oh, it's not. It's a strawberry banana smoothie that I drank and then vomited up. Here's the thing: it tastes good in my mouth. It's gonna taste. It's gonna feel awful when I swallow.
I got the burps have started. I feel them coming. The heartburn is climbing up. Oh, those barf beans just screw you up physically. I don't know why they get you.
Oh God, there it goes. Yeah, it's in my mouth. It's a whole mouth taste.
That's what she said.
About what? About what, JayBratt?
About your average human-sized
about my thumb finger?
I knew that wasn't a thumb the second you brought it up.
Oh, it's almost like I should have just not swallowed it. Jeez. Oh, there goes my evening. Oh my goodness. Well, JayBratt, I want to thank you again so much for joining us for this episode of PlayPSVR2, the podcast. Listeners, I hope you enjoyed it too. Give our buddy JayBratt some love. Go to his channel, JayBratt VR, on YouTube. Watch his footage. He's got PSVR2 stuff. He's got other VR stuff. He's your go-to guy. If I need to know what good equipment to get for my nephews and stuff like that to give them VR stuff, he's the guy I reference. But also, it's great talking to you. I love your opinions on Before Your Eyes. I appreciate you helping me take that out. You got any last words before I take us out, man?
Oh, Res Infinite is not an 89 out of 100 game. That is such crap. I will die on that freaking fence. Like, no. But glad to be back. Loved it.
Right. Yeah, we'll definitely have you on again sometime. But that is it for Play PSVR 2, the podcast, episode 114. Do not tell Adam we did this. All right, I want him to be surprised when he sees the rankings. But please don't forget, we have a code to give away for Before Your Eyes, the number 4 ranked game on the PSVR2 all-times list, courtesy of our homeboy, JayBratt. So email us to enter. We are contact@playpsvr.com. Any email will do, and then we'll select a winner next week on the next episode. You'll be so excited, and we'll email you back and say, hey, guess what? You get the code. You get the code. You get to live this memory. You get to see what it's like to be a little boy playing piano. Don't forget to hit us up on YouTube as well. We are Gaming Is in Session, or you can just search for Play PSVR 2. You know you're going to find us. Hit us up on iTunes. Give us a review. I love reading those things, even though it's so hard to get to. I don't have iTunes, but I still find the reviews because you guys leave them for me. Hit us up via your auntie's social media. You know we're there. We're in the DMs. If you can't find us, check her DMs. We're right there. We're sending her links every single week. Maybe she'll join us in the Zoom call one day because I keep sending them to her. But for you, no, we're here for you. For JayBratt, I'm Alex, and thanks for listening to Play PSVR 2, the podcast where virtual reality is our reality.
I do that.